Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're diving right into something truly mind-bending, an intersection of ideas that might honestly change how you view your entire life. We're exploring the super surprising connection between ancient Vedic wisdom, specifically chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita, and the absolute cutting-edge discoveries of modern science. So if you're looking for a practical guide to, living peacefully, finding some clarity, and actually excelling amidst all the struggles and doubts of the modern world, you're exactly in the right place. Because I really want you to consider this for a second. What if modern quantum physics and a 5,000-year-old Sanskrit poem were basically trying to tell us the exact same secret? I know, it sounds a little wild at first, but as we'll see, the chaotic struggles, the constant doubts, all those anxieties of our modern lives, they might actually have a single unified solution that both ancient sages and modern scientists completely agree on. Take Erwin Schrödinger, for example, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist famous for his quantum mechanics equations. He literally said, "The multiplicity is only apparent. This is the doctrine of the Upanishads, and not of the Upanishads only." What's so fascinating here is that some of the greatest scientific minds didn't just stare at math all day. They actively turned to ancient Eastern texts to help them conceptualize the underlying reality of the quantum universe. Section 1. Science meets ancient wisdom. We're going to use these two distinct lenses to view the exact same underlying reality of our universe. And more importantly, we'll figure out how this actually applies to you. Think about modern science, right? You've got Einstein's famous E=mc² and quantum field theory. Einstein basically proved that energy and matter are interchangeable. They're just different forms of the exact same thing, and particles are really just temporary excitations in underlying fields. Now, compare that to the ancient wisdom. The Bhagavad Gita describes prakriti, which is material nature or energy, being animated by purusha, which is pure consciousness. The Gita has been teaching for millennia that all physical forms are just temporary patterns of energy. It perfectly echoes Einstein. The forms change, sure, but the underlying reality stays the exact same. Section 2. The upside-down tree. Okay, so this is where things get deeply psychological and, honestly, incredibly relevant to our daily, modern anxieties. The ancient texts describe this thing called the Ashwatha tree, or Samsara vriksha. Picture an upside-down peepal tree. It symbolizes the convoluted, ephemeral mess of our worldly existence. That endless cycle of desires and human suffering. Its roots are high up above, and its branches grow downward. It represents a reality that is definitely not what it appears to be, which, if you think about it, is a lot like how quantum physics tells us solid matter isn't actually solid at all. Let's break down the symbols of this tree because it's a perfect analogy. The root, which is situated above, represents pure consciousness, or Brahman. That's the highest, unchanging reality. But look at the seed here, ignorance and desire. That is exactly what fuels the chaos. And those branches growing below, they represent our intellect, our senses, and literally all of our frantic, everyday worldly activities. So our roots might technically be up in higher consciousness, but man, we get completely entangled down below in the branches, fueled by the seeds of our daily ignorance and endless desires. Sound familiar? Section 3. Energy, matter, and illusion. So how do we make sense of all this? How do we categorize this convoluted mess of daily reality versus the actual unchanging truth? Well, check out this quote from Bhagavad Gita 7.4. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intellect, and ego. These are the 8 divisions of my material nature. What is absolutely mind-blowing about this is that 5,000 years ago, the Gita classified the mind and the ego as material nature. Exactly the same as earth and water, meaning your thoughts and your anxieties, they are literally just temporary matter and energy. They are not the real you.
To really grasp this, let's compare 2 fundamental concepts from the Gita. You have the kshara, which is the perishable, it's matter. Think of it as the ever-changing movie of your life that includes your physical body, your fleeting thoughts, and all those daily anxieties. But then you have the akshara, the imperishable. This is pure consciousness. It's the blank screen that the movie is projected onto. Your true observing self is that changeless akshara.
You're the screen, not the movie. Just think about it for a second. When you're watching a massive, explosive fire in an action movie, the actual cinema screen doesn't burn, right? When there is a huge flood on film, the physical screen doesn't get wet. In the same way, your pure consciousness, the akshara, remains completely 100% untouched by the disasters happening in the kshara, the movie of your daily life. But here is the million-dollar question for anyone actually looking to excel in life and find some genuine peace. How on earth do we escape this endless loop of anxiety? How do we break out of the trap of that upside-down tree?
Section 4, the acts of detachment. This right here is the ancient, highly practical psychological tool required to literally cut down our modern anxieties and overthinking. The Gita gives us a very specific weapon. It's called asanga. It translates to the axe of detachment. We use this super strong axe to chop down that firmly rooted upside-down tree of samsara to end our worldly sorrow. Now, actually, let me clarify. Detachment here does not mean feeling nothing or turning into some emotionless robot. It means acting selflessly, going out there and doing your absolute best in the world without being paralyzed by a desperate craving for specific results or being totally crushed by your failures.
So why do we need this axe in the first place? Well, it's because of the mechanics of desire, which are perfectly mapped out in Gita 2.62. Watch how this works. Step 1. Your attention dwells on objects, say, endlessly scrolling social media or obsessing over getting a promotion. Step 2, attachment arises. Step 3, the craving begins. And finally, step 4, frustration and anger inevitably erupt when you don't get it. This ancient text literally predicted the modern neurological wanting pathway and the exact dopaminergic addiction loops that neuroscientists study today. It's crazy. Okay, so how do we actually break that loop? We map out a path from worldly dependence to spiritual independence. Notice how our old habit of depending on the outside world for security is countered by karma yoga, which is selfless service. And depending on the world for pleasure, that's countered by dhyana yoga, meditation and compassion. Doing these practices systematically strips away our dependence on external, fleeting things. It gives us the equanimity to handle literally whatever situation the world decides to throw at us today.
Section 5. Rewiring your modern mind.
Let's look at how taking this proverbial axe of detachment to the tree of our anxieties quite literally changes our brain chemistry. The koshas represent the ancient Vedic concept of the layers of our personality. We've got the physical layer, the energy layer, the mental and emotional layer, and the wisdom layer. Now hold these layers in your mind for a second, because the scientific parallel we are about to look at is just incredible. When we compare the ancient koshas with modern brain anatomy, the parallels are staggering. The pranamaya layer, which governs basic survival, perfectly matches our reptilian brain. The monomaya layer, which houses our emotions, our likes and our dislikes, aligns directly with the limbic system. And the vijnanamaya layer, our center for values, logic, and mirror neurons, well, that's the neocortex. So the absolute crucial point here is that just as modern neuroscience tells us our higher neocortex must manage the emotional limbic system, the Gita told us thousands of years ago that our higher wisdom must regulate our emotional mind. And this brings us right to a classic, perfect analogy: the horse and the rider. The horse is your senses and your emotional mind. It's always seeking instant gratification. The rider, on the other hand, is your disciplined intellect. Now, if you just let the horse go wherever it wants, eating whatever, sleeping whenever, that is freedom for the horse, sure, but it is not freedom for the rider. True freedom is the rider stepping up and asserting disciplined control. Discipline is the very thing that actually makes you free from the tyranny of your own impulses. And you know what? The science backs this up completely. How exactly do these ancient practices rewire the brain today? First off, meditation actively reduces the constant chatter in your default mode network, which significantly lowers anxiety. Second, sustained practice, what they called abhyasa, leverages neuroplasticity to physically rebuild your brain's pathways. Third, practicing that equanimity we talked about directly lowers cortisol, which is our main stress hormone. And finally, meditation triggers internal dopamine. That means you can actually generate happiness from within without needing a single external worldly trigger to do it for you. Let's look at this really profound quote from Gita 10:20. I am the self, seated in the hearts of all creatures. This ancient wisdom of a profound underlying unity perfectly anticipated the concept of quantum entanglement. That's the proven scientific reality that particles remain interconnected across vast distances. We are not isolated beings. We are fundamentally, structurally connected to everything. So what is the big takeaway from all of this? It's simply this: you are the imperishable screen. All the chaos, the daily stress, the endless desires pulling at you, that is just a movie. You have the inherent power to step back from it. Modern science proves it's biologically possible, and ancient wisdom gives you the exact tools to do it. So the only question left is, are you ready to pick up the axe of detachment?